Welcome in, welcome in. Hello, everybody. Hi, Susan, love you. Hi, Darlene, love you. Betty, love you. Dee McLean and Goldie, love you both. Christopher, my little brother, love you. That was a great picture you put up tonight, Chris. I like that. It's a very good picture of you. I hope everybody had a blessed day. Okay, so now the puppy's going to start on me. Oh, excuse me. I've been at the house all day waiting for them to come and hook up the internet. They finally got it done, and I got home at like 6:30. I went over there about 1:30. Oh, tired. I went and saw my friend. Oh, that poor thing who lost her husband. We all know Tom's in a better place. He loved the Lord. Okay, Dee. I'm so tired, and it is raining and storming right now, and it's going to be doing that. My goodness, for the next 3 or 4 days. I don't even remember. I think Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Wednesday, not Thursday. I don't think. I'm just gonna have to look. Hey Tracy, welcome in. Good to see you. Love you. Let me see the weather. Liberty, come on now. You're not cooperating with me. We're under a severe thunderstorm watch until 10. Oh yeah, we got a lot of storms coming in. Whoa, Cindy's getting too. Rain today, rain Wednesday, sunny Thursday, Friday rain, Saturday rain, Sunday rain. Ugh, I'm so sick of rain. I'm so glad I'm not living in the house that I just moved from. That woman that's in there now is having one heck of a time with the water. She had to get a sump pump in there to pump the water out from under the house. Everything's backing up. I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry, but I don't have to worry about that now. Hey, Jeff. Well, good to see you, brother. Hey, Terry. Good to see you, brother. Love you both. Okay, hold on, Liberty. Hold on. Hold on a minute. Goodness. My hair's a mess because I've been outside in the wind all day. I did get the internet on over there, so it's on. We're good to go. Yay! So Saturday night I'll do my live over there. The next few days I'm going to be busy, busy, busy trying to get little things moved, and then Saturday move everything, what's left, which is all the big stuff. There's the princess. There's the princess. Oh, her so tired. She stayed home today. I didn't take her with me. But she was a good girl, though. She already ate her supper. Yeah. It's coming right now. It's here. It's windy, it's thundering and lightning and raining. Was it bad where you're at, Dee? Oh, Liberty's time. I love you so much. Susan, is there anybody else over there in Rumble? Any new people come back in yet or come in? Good Lord, my hair. I had to put it up today because it was so hot. It's nasty there. Ugh. Yeah, it's coming this way. I just checked the radar. It's just now coming in. It's sad. Yeah, I see it's a lot of yellow and what is that? Yellow and dark purple and light blue. It's right over top of us. The yellow is right now. Nobody's there yet? Okay. Anybody heard from Tina today to see how her dad's doing? Come on, stop. I know she put a notice in Van about it. I did see that. I intentionally went there to check. Are you, Tracy? I'm sick of it. I'm just so sick of it. I told the Lord, you can put the rain someplace that needs it because We really don't need it. You had a lot of red and orange. I don't think we have any red or orange, maybe a little bit, but it's mostly yellow and purple. Purplish color. Pepperdy, I love you too, sweetheart. But I don't want no nicks. Oh, 60 mile per hour winds. I don't think they're that fast here, at least not yet. It's pretty windy, but it's definitely not that. Well, stay safe, Dee. Thank you, Susan. You're not going out wandering the neighborhood, are you, Dee? So my daughter came over today and looked at the apartment. She likes it. She said it's cute. She said by the time you get your stuff in here, it'll look really good. Oh. You can stop. Oh, you tooted. Ooh, you tooted. What made you toot? Lay down right here. There you go. You tooted. You stank. She tooted. Helping Goldie. Okay, good. I'm going to start showing some things because we are going to the next book. I decided to play the movie of the next book, which we can watch it today because it's only got 5 chapters. It's not that long. Oh, it's at least an hour. Hey, Carrie, welcome in. Good to see you, brother. Love you. What is it? Lamentations? Yeah, Lamentations. Because she'll do Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. She'll do whatever that one, Jeremiah. And then by the time Saturday comes, I can go to another book. I'm trying to stay ahead of her. Oh, Liberty, no. No, honey. No. Why don't you go get a toy? Go get a toy. There you go. Go get a toy. Tracy, I'm praying for God to send the rain to you guys. I'm pretty much sick of it. So we're going to get started here. Now I have a few things I want to show. This is the 5. So this will be the first one I show. I had to look. Let me turn my camera off. Trying to hold this puppy back. Stop. All right. Here we go.
They're dumb. It's a new name. It's a very accurate name.
President Trump hammering Democrats with his favorite new nickname, the Democrats, while holding an impromptu news conference outside his massive ballroom construction site. This as his number 2, Vice President J.D. Vance, taking his war on fraud to the briefing room and absolutely steamrolling a reporter who turned a 1.5-minute question into a TED Talk about Trump trading stocks.
That was a doozy. Before I answer your question, I want to just observe there are different ways to ask a question. Okay, you could just ask a question, try to get your answer, or you could do like a speech where you say, Mr. Vice President, you're a terrible human being, and so is the president, and so is the entire cabinet. And then I'm like, what's your question? And then your question is, how dare you? Come on, man. Have a little bit of objectivity in the way that you ask these questions, because there were a lot of things in that speech masquerading as a question that didn't actually get asked.
And while Republicans fight fraud, Democrats are still fighting Trump. Gavin Newsom is trying to grease up his 2028 prospects by heading to D.C. today for what Kamala would surely call a no bad ideas summit.
Trump's not screwing around, and nor can we. Yeah, it's uncomfortable fighting fire with fire. Yes, we all want the better angels. Yes, we want the Sorkin sound and music, little West Wing. I do. But we'll lose our country. We will lose our country. You saw today, what is the President of the United States spending all his time on? He had a big press conference about the new design for the ballroom. Do not allow this to be normalized. It's a corruption story.
Oh, whatever.
That's the Trump administration. Period. Full stop.
For him to fly out there. Dana.
Yeah.
All right. Do you want to comment on the briefing room?
Yeah, I think, yeah. So when JD Vance said there's a way to ask a question, you don't have to give a speech. So, or it's like you stand up, say, like, I have a cat. It's like, okay, well, what's your question? But some of the reporters in the room obviously laughed. And one of the reasons is because if you're a regular at the briefing room, it's annoying when somebody stands up and gives a speech. And the other thing is, it reminds me of what Mike McCurry, who was Bill Clinton's press secretary, he was the first to allow cameras in the briefing room. Now, that might have been an inevitable situation because now cameras are everywhere. They're even in Greg's pocket, filming him going down the street, and he didn't even realize. So what happened as soon as you brought cameras in is that now it's a performance. And it's not just a performance at the press secretary position, but in the briefing room as well. And you could usually tell what was going to be one of the first questions from the networks, because if you watch the networks, you can pay attention to what they're looking for. And how is that White House reporter going to make the news that night? How would they make sure that they're going to be the first in line to get one of those very narrow slots? And usually it was because they were doing some sort of performance. So that is one way to do it. If I could mention one thing on the fraud piece, I love that they are figuring out a way to get this out front and center. It's not something that was like, here, it's an assignment, and then also you have 25,000 other things that you're doing, and it'll just be one of the many things. No, he has figured out a way to say, okay, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to fully do it. It's sort of like when Kamala Harris got the assignment to go to the border or to handle the border czar, and then she basically tried to push it to the back burner. That is not what JD Vance is doing. And people do get very angry about their tax dollars being wasted. And they're able to show in the communications that they're doing exactly what they're trying to do to try to make it better so that taxpayers feel better about the money that they're spending. And also, if you care about the people that it's supposed to help, you should want more of this.
Yeah, I feel extra pressure to.
Okay. There's that one. I have a couple other ones I'll play before we get started on the other. Let's see. Come on. This is Minnesota. We'll do this one next. Ilhan Omar got called out today. Surprise, surprise. It's about time. Now they're going to do something about it. We'll see. I don't hold my breath on it. Man, it's really thundering out there, guys.
War on fraud, which could also come up in today's press briefing with the vice president and fraud czar, JD Vance. The convicted mastermind behind Minnesota's Feeding Our Future $250 million fraud scheme is set to be sentenced this week. The Justice Department wants Amy Bach to spend 50 years behind bars, saying this, that she, quote, took advantage of a once-in-a-century global pandemic. Hello, everyone. This is Outnumbered. I'm Emily Compagno, here with my co-host, Kaylee McEnany, and also joining us today, Cheryl Casoni, Fox Business anchor and host of American Dream Home, Kennedy, the host of the Kennedy Saves the World podcast, and John Yoo, former law clerk for Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, former Deputy Assistant Attorney General and UC Berkeley law professor. Now, the mastermind's defense team says that she should get credit for handing over documents that helped convict her co-conspirators. They're hoping for about 3 years in jail. Before she was convicted, Amy Bach told Fox News that state officials like Governor Tim Walz and Attorney General Keith Ellison probably knew what was going on the whole time.
I have to believe that the governor's office and Keith Ellison's office were aware of this. They've said they were involved in helping the FBI. They've said they were made aware, but apparently I'm scary, so they couldn't do anything. I don't know. I have to believe they were aware. And again, if they weren't, shame on them for having a system that their lower level staff don't bring something of this level to their attention.
Now, Bach has also implicated Minnesota Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, whose name appeared in emails and texts during her trial. Bach tells the New York Post that she, quote, struggles to believe that Omar didn't know what was happening in her district. She told Fox something similar.
I don't know what she knew. I don't know. I know that I was duped by a number of people. We also have seen videos of Safari Restaurant giving out thousands of meals, pallets and pallets of food being distributed. Was there fraud? According to the DOJ and the FBI, yes. According to the jury verdict, yes. But how much? And why don't we know that? There's just so many holes and gaps in these cases. Ilhan Omar visited those sites. Why didn't the FBI?
John, I feel like rarely do we get so many statements coming out of a defendant's mouth, right? And this is really interesting that she's essentially saying she's part of the prosecution's case against the whole institution writ large, which is new or should have known. But here it seems like there's a lot of known. What is your take on?
Yep, she is trying to get out of trouble and blame other people, but I'm sure the people she's talking about knew exactly what was going on. Prayers, Tina, for tomorrow. God's got you. Amen. I think I might have one more. What time is it? We got 10 minutes. That's Lamnentations, so we'll do that one. We'll get rid of this one. I think we need that one. Okay, here's this. Whoops, here's the next one. And then we'll get ready for Trump endorsement propels Andy Barr to Kentucky. Trump people are winning all over the place. Is this it?
More Fox News correspondent Mark Meredith is standing by. Mark, I know you're at Andy Barr's campaign headquarters in Lexington. He's running to replace Mitch McConnell and has gotten Trump's
McConnell is out.
What are you hearing about turnout across the state for these races, these costly, costly races?
Laura, good evening to you. They are expensive. Forget the Bourbon Trail. It's the campaign trail that matters. They could
We love you,
tonight,
Tina.
as you mentioned, where we are, and the big sign behind me points it out, is we are at Andy Barr's headquarters. He's the congressman who's running to replace Mitch McConnell, who is retiring in the Senate. He's facing off against the former Attorney General of Kentucky. But this race really started to sway Barr's way after he got the endorsement from President Trump, and that changed everything just a few weeks ago. But a lot of drama is happening about an hour away from here in the congressional district, the 4th district, just south of Cincinnati, where we've got Thomas Massie, Republican congressman who's been in power since 2012, basically fighting to save his political career. He is facing an avalanche of attacks from President Trump, who wants him out of there. Massie has been a vocal critic of the president for several different issues, both domestic and foreign policy related. And Trump is backing a former Navy SEAL, Ed Gulrine, in this race. And what's fascinating, and you hit it right off the top, Laura, is the money that has been spent on this. More than $30 million on a House primary. That is a huge amount of money. But we'll also be looking to see more about President Trump's political strength in this, because Trump, including today, has been so vocal against Massie. And just a little while ago, he accused Massie of basically trying to lie to voters after a text message appears to have gone out indicating that there was a Trump endorsement from Massie. That was from several years ago. It had nothing to do with this race, but it created some confusion about what was happening in the 4th congressional district. But President Trump feeling emboldened after what happened in Louisiana over the weekend. He also made other endorsements. But what we're looking for in Kentucky here is to see what the margins are like, not only in the 4th district, but also here in this race to replace McConnell.
Sorry to interrupt.
Both candidates were
Mark, we're
so
just learning that Andy Barr has won the Republican nomination for the U.S. Senate in Kentucky. That is official. It was a blowout against the challenger, Mr. Cameron. So, you know, the question here, I think, Andy, for Mark, of course, for a lot of us, is this sparring between Massie and Trump. People focus on the war in Iran, but it's a lot more than that. It's tariffs. It's border security. It's a larger view of trade policy. It's immigration. It's H-1B visas. I mean, there are a lot of issues involved in this, but of course the left is seizing on this, the issue with the war in Iran, and they're kind of married with some of the libertarians on that.
All right. Hey, SL20, good to see you. Love you. Jake Keeps, good to see you. Love you. Bit by two. Good to see you. Love you. All right, guys. Is something wrong with chat? What's wrong with chat? What's it doing? Let me see. Let me go over there. Hold on. Rumble. What's wrong with chat? It looks all right to me. Yes, he did, Jay Keeps. It's not sharing on the screen? Huh. All right, hold on. Let me go back to it. Well, it is on my screen, on my phone. Let me go. Hold on. Let's get this figured out before we start. Should be. Hmm. Okay. Something's not right. I don't know. It looked all right on mine, and then I did it on my laptop, and it looked all right. I rewound. Okay, something's not right because I keep hearing myself. So hold on. Let's go here. Well, hold on just a minute, guys. I don't know what's going on with it. Let me go to Rumble again. It says I'm live on Rumble. Recording in progress, whatever that means. I don't know, guys. I don't know. So nobody can see what I'm playing? Because if I rewind it, it's there. because I'm not playing nothing yet. On my phone and on my laptop, it's there. Hey, Party Bonza, welcome in. Good to see you. Now, why it's not doing that, I don't like that, because you guys got to watch the movie. You're not. You don't see the chat? Oh, this chat right here, I see. I'm looking all over. I'm thinking you guys don't see anything. I know what you're talking about now. How about that, Tina? Is that what you're talking about? Oh, my bad. I'm sorry. Is that better? Oh, there we go. Now we got combined chat. My bad. My bad. 2 minutes. Okay. On-screen chat. That's called on-screen chat. At least that's what I think it is. Good to see you, Party Bonzo. Love ya. So, Tina, tomorrow you're going to do Jeremiah, right? The rest of Jeremiah or whatever. I don't know. What are you doing? I can't remember because I'm going to play Lamentations tonight. Because that's the next one. I'm trying to stay ahead of you so nobody misses the movie. You're a confusing person. Yeah, I was looking. I'm like, well, it looks fine to me. I got to fix my phone because it's not working right. Oh. Are you kidding me? There we go. Let's get back to Rumble or YouTube. Okay. Okay. Not a good explainer. I'm not a good listener. You can study tomorrow. Yeah, exactly. SL20. Jay Keeps wrote, Gator, I saw what you were playing, just not chat on screen. Thank you. It's there, so you guys can see it. I won't be able to see the chat on screen when I play the movie. Unless I go to YouTube on here, but I always seem to mess that up, so I don't want to take the chance. Okay, here we go.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. Whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watch, words of gallantly stream. And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God. Indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody. You guys rock. All right, now we will play our soldiers. Let me get the music going here. Rest in peace, soldiers. Welcome, Tina. Welcome, Robert, or Christopher. I said Robert. Rest in peace, patriots. Gone but never forgotten. And now for our American citizens who were brutally murdered by illegal immigrants, aliens. And it's really storming here, guys. Rest in peace, angels. Gone too soon, but never forgotten. Keep dancing in the sky with Jesus. God bless your families. Yes, keep the families in your prayers. Tina's still praying for your daddy and your aunt. Amen. Yes, he is. Rest in peace. We're waiting. We're waiting. Tina will get the updated list as soon as it comes out. Keep trusting God. Amen. Amen, amen, amen. Okay, now I'm going to name off everybody. Now, if I've forgotten anyone, please don't be angry. Just let me know. We're going to pray for Carrie for his health, Tina and Sky, Tina's daddy and Tina's aunt, for everything that's going on with that family, their health, their family members. We're going to pray for Chris, Tracy, and Terry, and Tracy and Terry for strength. Christopher, because as soon as he can, as soon as he's next, he will be getting a heart transplant. So please keep him in your prayers. Teacup for her eyes, Santon family for his health, Dee, Goldie, and Dee's dad, Betty and Steve and their family, Cindy, Mel, Cindy's brother Rick and their family, Darlene and Jeff and family, Bonnie, Tina B, for our America, our president, our vice president, and all their families, our troops, the innocent people in Iran, Jared and Julius, Darlene's pastor, Diane and hubby, and Darlene's sister-in-law, Carrie's brother-in-law, for anyone in the path of the storms, Cindy Chase, Candy, Amanda, Eric, and Paul, Betty's son, Eric, Darlene's children, Mark and Tina, and Dwayne with cancer. I am also going to ask you to pray a special prayer for my friend Kathy, whose husband just died Saturday night. The funeral is Sunday. So please keep her in your prayer, and please keep my friend Natalie's family in your prayers. She passed away Friday. And please keep my friend Steve's sister, because his brother's gone, his parents are gone. Steve never had kids. So his funeral was today. So please keep his sister in your prayers, and her children. So that's 3 for me just in the last week. Natalie had cancer. She was my age. I went to school with her. We were pretty good friends back in the day. She is my best friend's sister. And Kathy's husband, Tom, fought Parkinson's disease for over 20 years. So please keep him in your prayers. His family, they have 2 sons and daughter-in-laws. Their parents are both gone. Just pray for them, because it's going to be rough, especially for Kathy. Her and Tom were married 50 years. And please pray for Teddy's second mom, as she lost her husband as well, and Dee McLean's brother from another mother as well. So just keep each other in your prayers. If you ever think about them, just continue to pray for them. Big John, okay. Big John in your prayers. We have so much need of prayer, and I promise as soon as I get moved, first thing I'm doing is setting up my place for my computer, and I'm going to start doing prayers daily on the prayer channel. There's an email that Tina has my email that you can email any prayer request, and I can get them wrote down and be ready to go. You can have all the rain, Tina. I'm sick of it. So I love you all, and your brother's name is Eric. Okay, for Derek's brother, Eric. So let's get ready for Lamentations. Let me get rid of that because we don't need that one. All right. And this is only 5 chapters. And I always do the same people. It's the black and white. It's called black and white. Something. Black and white. I forget what it's called. I'll look. Black and white Bible.
It was coming. Jeremiah stood in the temple courts, crying out that judgment was at the door. The people laughed. The priests rejected him. The kings ignored him. God would never abandon his chosen city, they said. The temple guarantees our protection. Then, on a day that shattered history, the unthinkable happened, and Jeremiah watched his prophecies materialize into nightmare. The Book of Lamentations is the only biblical text written from ground zero of fulfilled prophecy. This isn't prediction, it's documentation. 5 carefully structured acrostic poems, each letter of the Hebrew alphabet becoming a step deeper into catastrophe. But here's what scholars miss. Buried in chapter 3, at the exact mathematical center of the book, lies the most profound statement about God's character ever written. 22 verses of despair suddenly pivot to 22 verses that have become the foundation of Christian hope worldwide. Why would God allow his own house to burn? What happens?
And let's keep Party Bonds' friend Tim in your prayers too. Thank you, Tina. We'll pray for him too, Party Bonza.
When divine patience runs out? And how does a prophet find mercy in the midst of deserved judgment? The answers will challenge everything you thought you knew about God's love and justice. The book opens with a picture that breaks the heart. Jerusalem, the city that once overflowed with people, now sits completely alone. Chapter 1, verse 1 captures this tragic transformation. How deserted lies the city, once so full of people. How like a widow is she, who once was great among the nations. She who was queen among the provinces has now become a slave. Think about what this means. This wasn't just any city. This was Jerusalem, the place where God's temple stood, where kings ruled, where festivals brought thousands of pilgrims from every direction. The streets used to buzz with merchants selling their goods, children playing, people going about their daily lives. Now, silence, emptiness. The comparison to a widow tells us everything. A widow has lost her protector, her provider, her companion. She sits alone in her grief, and no one comes to comfort her. The text says she was great among the nations and queen among the provinces. Jerusalem once commanded respect. Other nations paid tribute to her. She had influence, power, political weight. But something catastrophic happened, and now she's described as a slave. The complete reversal couldn't be more dramatic. From queen to slave, from crowded to deserted, from protected to vulnerable. Verse 2 continues the image. Bitterly she weeps at night. Tears are on her cheeks. Among all her lovers there is no one to comfort her. All her friends have betrayed her. They have become her enemies. The weeping doesn't stop. Night after night, the tears flow. This isn't a momentary sadness. It's a grief that has settled in and won't leave. The tears on her cheeks show that the crying is constant, visible, unashamed. The mention of lovers and friends in verse 2 brings us to one of the most painful parts of Jerusalem's story: betrayal. These weren't enemies from the beginning. These were nations that Jerusalem had treaties with, countries she trusted, allies she thought would stand by her side when trouble came. But when Jerusalem needed them most, they turned their backs. Worse than that, they became her enemies. Verse 3 explains what happened to Judah. After affliction and harsh labor, Judah has gone into exile. She dwells among the nations. She finds no resting place. All who pursue her have overtaken her in the midst of her distress. The people of Judah didn't just suffer defeat. They were carried away from their homeland. They're living in foreign countries now, scattered among nations that don't care about them, and there's no rest. Everywhere they turn, they're pursued, caught, overwhelmed. The verse says they were overtaken in the midst of her distress. Imagine being in your worst moment, your lowest point, and that's when your enemies strike. That's when those you trusted choose to attack instead of help. Jerusalem reached out for support and found none. The political alliances she had carefully built over the years dissolved the moment they were tested. Verse 19 adds more detail about this betrayal. I called to my allies, but they betrayed me. My priests and my elders perished in the city while they searched for food to keep themselves alive. Jerusalem called for help. She sent messengers, made appeals, reminded her allies of their agreements, but they betrayed her. The Hebrew word here is strong. It means they deliberately deceived her. They acted treacherously. These weren't neutral parties who simply chose not to get involved. They actively turned against Jerusalem in her hour of need. Now we meet the voice behind these words, the prophet himself watching everything unfold. Verse 16 reveals his emotional state. This is why I weep and my eyes overflow with tears. No one is near to comfort me, no one to restore my spirit. My children are destitute because the enemy has prevailed. The prophet isn't writing as a distant observer. He's in the middle of this catastrophe, and it's destroying him emotionally. His eyes overflow with tears. The Hebrew suggests a continuous flowing, like a fountain that won't stop. This isn't crying that comes and goes, it's a constant stream of grief. And notice what he says, no one is near to comfort me. The loneliness isn't just Jerusalem's, it's personal. The prophet feels abandoned too. He mentions his children being destitute, which could refer to the literal children of Jerusalem, the people he shepherded and cared for, now left with nothing because the enemy won. The prophet's role makes this even more painful. He likely warned about this judgment. He probably stood in the streets and told people that this would happen if they didn't turn back to God, and they didn't listen. Now, he's watching his worst predictions come true, and there's no satisfaction in being right, only overwhelming sorrow. Verse 12 shows him trying to make others understand the magnitude of what's happening. Is it nothing to you, all you who pass by? Look around and see. Is any suffering like my suffering that was inflicted on me, that the Lord brought on me in the day of his fierce anger? He's addressing people who might just walk by, glance at the ruins, and keep going. He's pleading with them to really look, to really see what happened here. This isn't ordinary suffering. This is something beyond normal human tragedy. While Jerusalem mourns, her enemies celebrate. Verse 7 paints a disturbing picture. In the days of her affliction and wandering, Jerusalem remembers all the treasures that were hers in days of old. When her people fell into enemy hands, there was no one to help her. Her enemies looked at her and laughed at her destruction. The timing makes it worse. In her moment of greatest vulnerability, when her people are falling into enemy hands, that's when the mocking begins. They're laughing at her destruction. These are people who saw Jerusalem's former glory, who knew what she once was, and now they're taking pleasure in watching her fall. The Hebrew word for laughed suggests scorn and derision. They're not just amused, they're actively mocking and ridiculing. Verse 10 shows how complete the violation was. The enemy laid hands on all her treasures. She saw pagan nations enter her sanctuary, those you had forbidden to enter your assembly. The most sacred space in Jerusalem was the temple, God's dwelling place among his people. There were strict laws about who could enter certain areas. Now foreign soldiers, people who don't worship the God of Israel, are walking through the sanctuary, taking whatever they want. It's not just military defeat, it's spiritual desecration. Verse 21 reveals what the enemies are saying. People have heard my groaning, but there is no one to comfort me. All my enemies have heard of my distress. They rejoice at what you have done. May you bring the day you have announced, so they too may become like me. The enemies aren't silent in their triumph. They're vocal about it. They've heard Jerusalem's groaning, and it makes them happy. They rejoice specifically because God is the one who did this. They see it as proof that Jerusalem's God has abandoned her. Jerusalem wasn't just any city. It was beautiful, glorious, the pride of Israel. But now all that beauty is gone. Verse 6 states, all the splendor has departed from daughter Zion. Her princes are like deer that find no pasture. In weakness, they have fled before the pursuer. Splendor means glory, magnificence, beauty that makes people stop and stare. All of it gone, departed, left the city completely. The princes, who should be strong leaders, are compared to starving deer. Deer without pasture are desperate, weak, unable to defend themselves. These leaders have no strength left. They flee before their pursuers, but even their flight is feeble. There's no dignity in their escape, no valor in their retreat. They're simply too weak to do anything else. Verse 4 describes the physical emptiness. The roads to Zion mourn, for no one comes to her appointed festivals. All her gateways are desolate, her priests groan, her young women grieve, and she is in bitter anguish. The roads themselves are mourning. This poetic image shows that even the pathways that used to bring thousands of pilgrims to Jerusalem's festivals are now empty and sad. Gates that once opened to welcome worshippers now stand desolate. Priests who led celebrations now groan in despair. Young women who danced at festivals now grieve. Verse 10 mentioned the treasures being taken, but verse 11 shows the depth of the poverty. All her people groan as they search for bread. They barter their treasures for food to keep themselves alive. The people who once had plenty are now groaning as they hunt for basic food. They're so desperate they're trading away their valuable possessions, family heirlooms, precious items, just to get enough bread to survive one more day. The beauty and wealth are being sold off piece by piece just to avoid starvation. At this point in the chapter, the voice shifts. Jerusalem herself begins to speak, and what she says is crucial. Verse 8 contains her admission. Jerusalem has sinned greatly, and so has become unclean. All who honored her despise her, for they have all seen her naked. She herself groans and turns away in shame. She's not blaming others. She's not making excuses. She says directly, Jerusalem has sinned greatly. The word greatly matters. This wasn't small mistakes or minor failures. The sin was massive, serious, repeated. The result is that she's become unclean, ceremonially impure, spiritually defiled. Those who used to honor her now despise her because they've seen her nakedness, which in Hebrew culture represents complete shame and humiliation. Jerusalem groans and turns away, unable to face what she's become. Verse 9 continues her confession. Her filthiness clung to her skirts. She did not consider her future. Her fall was astounding. There was none to comfort her. The filthiness clinging to her skirts is a vivid image of sin that won't wash off, contamination that has become part of her. But here's the key phrase. She did not consider her future. Jerusalem lived in the moment, ignored the warnings, didn't think about where her choices were leading. She assumed tomorrow would always be like today. Her fall was astounding, meaning it shocked people. It was more severe than anyone imagined possible. Jerusalem the Great, Jerusalem the Strong, Jerusalem where God's temple stood, completely fallen. And once again, that painful refrain, there was none to comfort her. Verse 14 shows Jerusalem acknowledging God's role. My sins have been bound into a yoke. By his hands they were woven together. They have been hung on my neck, and the Lord has sapped my strength. He has given me into the hands of those I cannot withstand. She recognizes that her sins have become a yoke, a heavy burden around her neck, like what farmers put on oxen. And God himself wove this yoke, placed it on her. Her strength is gone because of him. He's the one who handed her over to enemies too strong for her to fight. Even in her confession, Jerusalem cries out for someone to see her pain. Verse 9 ends with her direct appeal. Look, Lord, on my affliction, for the enemy has triumphed. She's speaking to God now, asking him to look at what's happening. She's not denying she deserves it, but she's asking him to see how far the enemy has gone, how complete the triumph has been. Verse 11 ends with another plea. Look, Lord, and consider, for I am despised. Again, she asks God to look, to really consider what her state has become. The word despised means she's treated as worthless, as nothing. She's asking God to take notice of how low she's fallen. Verse 18 contains one of the most important verses in the chapter. The Lord is righteous, yet I rebelled against his commands. Listen, all you peoples, look on my suffering. My young men and young women have gone into exile. Even as she cries for compassion, she maintains her confession. The Lord is righteous, meaning he's done nothing wrong. Everything he did was just. Yet she rebelled. The fault is entirely hers. But then she asks all peoples to listen and look at her suffering. She wants witnesses to her pain. She mentions specifically the young men and women in exile, the next generation, taken away before they could live their lives. Verse 20 shows the depth of her cry. See, Lord, how distressed I am. I am in torment within, and in my heart I am disturbed, for I have been most rebellious. Outside the sword bereaves, inside there is only death. She's asking God to see her distress, her internal torment, the disturbance in her heart. And she admits again, I have been most rebellious, but look at the result, death everywhere. The sword kills those outside the city. Death waits for those inside. There's no escape, no safe place. The chapter keeps returning to one devastating reality. Jerusalem is alone. Verse 2 said it, among all her lovers there is no one to comfort her. Verse 9 repeated it, there was none to comfort her. Verse 16 said it again, no one is near to comfort me, no one to restore my spirit. And verse 17 makes it even clearer. Zion stretches out her hands, but there is no one to comfort her. The Lord has decreed for Jacob that his neighbors become his foes. Jerusalem has become an unclean thing among them. The image of Zion stretching out her hands is powerful. It's the gesture of someone reaching for help, reaching for another person to grab onto. But the hands find nothing. No one takes them. No one comes to help. And the verse explains why. God decreed it. He ordered that Jacob's neighbors would become enemies instead of helpers. Jerusalem is now viewed as an unclean thing, something people avoid, something that contaminates. Verse 21 brings us to the end with the same theme. People have heard my groaning, but there is no one to comfort me. Everyone can hear her pain. The groaning is loud, public, impossible to ignore, but hearing doesn't lead to helping. They listen to her suffer, and they do nothing. Some even rejoice, as we saw earlier. The isolation is complete. Jerusalem is surrounded by people who know she's in agony, and not one of them offers comfort. The chapter ends with Jerusalem's final prayer in verse 22. Let all their wickedness come before you. Deal with them as you have dealt with me because of all my sins. My groans are many, and my heart is faint. She's asking God to judge her enemies the way he judged her. If she suffered for her sins, let them suffer for theirs. It's not a prayer of forgiveness or mercy toward her enemies. It's a prayer for justice, for balance. And she ends by stating her current condition. Many groans, a faint heart. She's at the end of her strength, barely holding on, with nothing left but her grief and her prayers for God to act. Chapter 2 opens with an image that would terrify anyone who understood what it meant. Verse 1 declares how the Lord has covered daughter Zion with the cloud of his anger. He has hurled down the splendor of Israel from heaven to earth. He has not remembered his footstool in the day of his anger. A cloud in Israel's history wasn't always bad. God led them through the wilderness with a cloud, but this cloud is different. This is the cloud of anger, dark and threatening. God hurled down Israel's splendor from heaven to earth. The word hurled shows force, violence, deliberate action. Everything high has been thrown down low, and then comes a phrase that should make anyone pause. He has not remembered his footstool. The footstool refers to the Ark of the Covenant, the most sacred object in the temple, the place where God's presence dwelt among his people. In his anger, God didn't protect it. He didn't remember it, the thing that symbolized his closeness to Israel. He let it fall. Verse 2 continues, "Without pity, the Lord has swallowed up all the dwellings of Jacob. In his wrath he has torn down the strongholds of daughter Judah. He has brought her kingdom and its princes down to the ground in dishonor." The phrase "without pity" is shocking. God, who is described throughout Scripture as compassionate and merciful, acted without pity here. He swallowed up dwellings, tore down strongholds, military fortresses that were supposed to be unbreakable. He brought the kingdom down to the ground in dishonor, stripping away any dignity or respect it once had. Verse 3 gets even more specific. In fierce anger, he has cut off every horn of Israel. He has withdrawn his right hand at the approach of the enemy. He has burned in Jacob like a flaming fire that consumes everything around it. The horn symbolizes strength and power. God cut off every single one, meaning he removed all of Israel's ability to defend herself. But here's what makes it worse. He withdrew his right hand. In battle, God's right hand was his power fighting for Israel. Now, as the enemy approaches, God pulls back. He's not fighting for them anymore. Instead, he's fighting against them like a fire that burns everything in its path. The destruction moves from the general to the specific, and nothing is more specific or more painful than what happened to the temple. Verse 4 describes God's position. Like an enemy, he has strung his bow. His right hand is ready. Like a foe, he has slain all who were pleasing to the eye. He has poured out his wrath like fire on the tent of daughter Zion. God is described as an enemy with a bow ready to shoot. He's called a foe. And he killed those who were pleasing to the eye, the young, the beautiful, those with their whole lives ahead of them. His wrath poured out like fire specifically on the tent of Zion, a reference to the tabernacle and temple. Verse 5 makes it explicit. The Lord is like an enemy. He has swallowed up Israel. He has swallowed up all her palaces and destroyed her strongholds. He has multiplied mourning and lamentation for daughter Judah. 3 times in these verses, God is compared to an enemy. He swallowed up Israel, the same language used for a monster devouring its prey. The palaces are gone. The strongholds are destroyed. And the result is multiplied mourning and lamentation, grief upon grief upon grief. Verse 6 focuses on the sacred spaces. He has laid waste his dwelling like a garden. He has destroyed his place of meeting. The Lord has made Zion forget her appointed festivals and her Sabbaths. In his fierce anger, he has spurned both king and priest. God destroyed his own dwelling place, the temple which took years to build, which was filled with gold and precious materials, which represented God's commitment to live among his people. He laid it waste like someone tears up a garden. The place of meeting where people came to worship is destroyed. The festivals are forgotten, the Sabbaths are ignored, and God has spurned, rejected, cast away both the king who ruled and the priest who served in his temple. Verse 7 gives more detail. The Lord has rejected his altar and abandoned his sanctuary. He has given the walls of her palaces into the hands of the enemy. They have raised a shout in the house of the Lord as on the day of an appointed festival. The altar where sacrifices were made, rejected. The sanctuary where prayers were offered, abandoned. Enemy soldiers are now inside the temple, and they're shouting. Their victory cries echo in the same space where songs of worship used to rise. The verse compares their shouting to the noise of an appointed festival, which is a painful irony. The temple is full of sound again, but it's the wrong sound from the wrong people. The spiritual leaders who were supposed to guide the people and intercede with God are now dead. Verse 20 asks a horrifying question. Look, Lord, and consider, whom have you ever treated like this? Should women eat their offspring, the children they have cared for? Should priest and prophet be killed in the sanctuary of the Lord? The question about priests and prophets being killed in the sanctuary shows how complete the violation was. These men weren't killed in battle outside the city. They were killed inside the temple itself, in the holy place where they served. The sanctuary was supposed to be a place of refuge, a place of safety. The priests and prophets should have been protected there, but they weren't. They fell where they stood, in the very place they had dedicated their lives to serving God. The question, whom have you ever treated like this, suggests this level of judgment is unprecedented. Even in past judgments, God had never gone this far. Verse 14 addresses the prophet specifically, though in a different context. The visions of your prophets were false and worthless. They did not expose your sin to ward off your captivity. The prophecies they gave you were false and misleading. This explains part of why the judgment was so severe. The prophets who were supposed to warn the people instead gave them false hope. They said everything would be fine when it wouldn't be. They gave misleading prophecies that made people think they were safe when they were in terrible danger. Instead of exposing sin so people could repent, they covered it up with pleasant lies. One of the most heartbreaking aspects of the siege appears in verse 11. My eyes fail from weeping, I am in torment within. My heart is poured out on the ground because my people are destroyed, because children and infants faint in the streets of the city. The prophet's eyes are failing from crying so much. He's in torment inside his body. His heart feels like it's been poured out on the ground, completely emptied of life. And the reason is specific. Children and infants are fainting in the streets. These aren't soldiers. They're not the people who made the decisions that led to this judgment. They're children who don't understand what's happening, infants who can't even ask for food properly. They're collapsing in the streets from hunger and weakness. The image is unbearable. Little ones who should be playing, learning, growing, instead lying in the streets too weak to stand. Verse 12 continues, they say to their mothers, where is bread and wine? As they faint like the wounded in the streets of the city, as their lives ebb away in their mother's arms. The children are crying out for bread and wine, basic food and drink. They're asking their mothers, trusting that mothers can fix everything, that mothers have answers, but the mothers have nothing to give. The children faint like wounded soldiers, which is a devastating comparison. Soldiers get wounded in battle by choice, knowing the risks. These children are casualties of a war they didn't choose and couldn't escape. The phrase, as their lives ebb away in their mother's arms, shows the final moments. The mothers are holding them, trying to comfort them, but they can only watch as life slowly leaves their children's bodies. There's nothing more they can do. No food to offer, no water to give. Just the helpless grief of watching death take their babies. Verse 20 contains a question so terrible that it almost shouldn't be written. Should women eat their offspring, the children they have cared for?
Oh my.
This isn't hypothetical. During severe sieges in ancient times, when people were trapped inside city walls with no food coming in, the unthinkable sometimes happened. Starvation drove people to absolute madness. Mothers, whose instinct is to protect and nourish their children, were reduced to such desperate hunger that they did the unimaginable. The verse says, the children they have cared for, which makes it worse. These weren't strangers. These were the babies they had nursed, the toddlers they had fed, the children they had raised with love. The phrase emphasizes the relationship, the bond, the care that had existed. And now that's all been destroyed by starvation so complete that it broke the most fundamental human instinct, a mother's love for her child. This was actually prophesied in Deuteronomy as one of the curses that would come if Israel abandoned God's covenant. It was the worst-case scenario. The thing that showed judgment had reached its absolute maximum. And now it's happened. The theoretical curse has become horrible reality. Verse 12 showed children asking mothers for food. Verse 20 shows what happens when the starvation continues beyond all endurance. The mothers have no answers to give. They have no bread, no wine, no food of any kind. And in the absolute extremity of hunger, some crossed a line that should never be crossed. The text doesn't describe it in detail. It just asks the question, letting the horror speak for itself. We touched on this briefly, but verse 14 deserves full attention. The visions of your prophets were false and worthless. They did not expose your sin to ward off your captivity. The prophecies they gave you were false and misleading. The prophets were supposed to be God's messengers, the ones who heard from him and told the people what he said. But these prophets were giving false visions, messages that didn't come from God at all. The word worthless is important. Their visions had no value, no substance, no truth. They were empty words that sounded spiritual but meant nothing. These prophets stood in front of crowds and said, "Peace, peace," when there was no peace. They said God would protect Jerusalem no matter what, that the temple's presence guaranteed safety, that the enemy wouldn't succeed. The verse says they did not expose your sin. That was their job. A true prophet's role included pointing out where people had gone wrong, calling them to repentance, showing them the consequences of continuing in rebellion. But these false prophets didn't do that. They made people comfortable in their sin. They told them what they wanted to hear instead of what they needed to hear. If they had exposed the sin, they could have warded off captivity. There was still time. God gave warnings. He sent true prophets like Jeremiah, who did tell the truth. But the false prophets drowned out the true ones. They were more popular because their message was easier to hear. And their false, misleading prophecies helped lead the nation into the disaster that was now happening. They bear responsibility for what happened because they failed to do their job. The enemies aren't silent observers. They're active participants in mocking Jerusalem's fall. Verse 15 describes their reaction. All who pass your way clap their hands at you. They scoff and shake their heads at daughter Jerusalem. Is this the city that was called the perfection of beauty, the joy of the whole earth? Clapping hands in this context isn't applause. It's a gesture of mockery and contempt. They're scoffing, which means they're laughing with derision and scorn. And notice what they're saying. Is this the city that was called the perfection of beauty, the joy of the whole earth? They're throwing Jerusalem's former glory back in her face. They remember what she claimed to be, what she was known as. The perfection of beauty, the joy of the whole earth. Those were real titles, real descriptions of what Jerusalem once was. Now the enemies are using those very titles to mock her fall. Look at you now, they're saying. Where's your perfection? Where's your beauty? Where's your joy? Verse 16 continues, all your enemies open their mouths wide against you. They scoff and gnash their teeth and say, we have swallowed her up. This is the day we have waited for. We have lived to see it. Opening their mouths wide is a gesture of aggression and contempt. Gnashing teeth shows anger and hatred. These enemies aren't just happy Jerusalem fell, they're actively celebrating with hostile, hateful gestures. They say, we have swallowed her up. They're taking credit for the destruction, claiming victory for themselves. And they say, this is the day we have waited for. We have lived to see it. They've been anticipating this. They've wanted this for a long time. For years, maybe generations, they've hoped to see Jerusalem brought low. And now their hope has come true. They're savoring every moment of her humiliation. The chapter ends where it began, with tears. But these tears are described in a way that shows they're not going to stop. Verse 18 calls out, "The hearts of the people cry out to the Lord. You walls of daughter Zion, let your tears flow like a river day and night. Give yourself no relief, your eyes no rest." The tears are supposed to flow like a river, constant, unstoppable, always moving, day and night without stopping. The command is to give yourself no relief. Don't stop crying. Don't rest your eyes. Keep the tears flowing because the situation demands it. The grief is so large that it requires continual expression. To stop crying would be to minimize what's happened, to pretend things aren't as bad as they are. Verse 19 continues the call to tears. "Arise, cry out in the night as the watches of the night begin. Pour out your heart like water in the presence of the Lord. Lift up your hands to him for the lives of your children who faint from hunger at every street corner." The instruction is to cry out in the night, during the watches when guards would normally keep alert. Instead of sleeping, cry. Pour out your heart like water, completely, holding nothing back. And the crying isn't just emotional release, it's prayer. Lift up your hands to him for the lives of your children. Even in judgment, even in anger, even after everything that's happened, the instruction is still to pray to the Lord, to lift hands up to him and plead for the children who are fainting from hunger at every street corner. The crying becomes intercession, grief becomes prayer, tears become a language of desperate appeal to the God who brought this judgment. Verse 11 had already shown the prophet's personal tears. "My eyes fail from weeping. I am in torment within. My heart is poured out on the ground." His eyes are literally failing. He's cried so much that his vision is affected. He's in physical torment from the emotional pain. His heart is poured out like something liquid emptied from a container. And all of this is because of what he sees happening to his people, especially to the children. Chapter 3 shifts dramatically. Instead of describing the city, a single voice speaks in first person, "I am the man." Verse 1 begins, "I am the man who has seen affliction by the rod of the Lord's wrath." This is personal testimony. One man speaking about what he's experienced under God's anger. The rod of wrath is an instrument of punishment, and this man has felt every blow. Verse 2 continues, "He has driven me away and made me walk in darkness rather than light." God didn't just allow darkness, he actively drove this man into it, made him walk there. The contrast matters, not in light, but in darkness. Light represents guidance, safety, understanding, hope. Darkness is confusion, danger, blindness, despair. And this man has been forced to walk in that darkness. Verse 3 adds intensity. "Indeed, he has turned his hand against me again and again, all day long." The word "again and again" shows repetition. This isn't a single moment of judgment. It's continuous, relentless, happening all day long. God's hand, which could protect and bless, has turned against him. Every moment brings another strike, another weight, another reminder that God is opposing him. Verse 6 uses powerful imagery. "He has made me dwell in darkness like those long dead." This isn't temporary darkness like nighttime that ends with dawn. This is the darkness of the grave, the darkness of death, the kind of darkness that doesn't lift. He's been placed among those who died long ago, shut away from life and light. The comparison to the dead shows how complete his separation feels, cut off from everything living, everything good. The suffering moves from spiritual to physical. Verse 4 describes bodily deterioration. "He has made my skin and my flesh grow old and has broken my bones." The skin and flesh growing old means premature aging, the body breaking down before its time. This isn't natural aging from living a long life. This is being aged by suffering, worn down by constant affliction. And the bones being broken shows structural damage, the very frame of the body being shattered. Verse 5 continues the physical assault. He has besieged me and surrounded me with bitterness and hardship. The language of siege, which applied to Jerusalem as a city, now applies to this individual. He's surrounded, trapped with bitterness and hardship, pressing in from every side. There's no direction he can turn to find relief. Every angle is blocked. Verse 7 describes the imprisonment. He has walled me in, so I cannot escape. He has weighed me down with chains. Physical walls prevent movement. Chains add weight, restrict freedom, mark someone as a captive. The man is trapped with no possibility of escape. The walls are too high, too strong. The chains are too heavy. Whatever strength he might have had to break free is insufficient against what God has put in place. Verse 11 uses animal imagery. He dragged me from the path and mangled me and left me without help. The word mangled suggests the violence of a predator attacking prey. He was dragged off his path, the way he was walking, the direction he was going, and torn apart, and then left, abandoned, with no help coming, no rescue arriving, just lying there mangled and alone. The sense of being trapped intensifies. Verse 7 already mentioned being walled in, but verse 9 adds more. He has barred my way with blocks of stone. He has made my paths crooked. Not only are there walls, but the path itself is blocked with massive stones. These aren't pebbles that can be moved aside. These are blocks of stone, requiring serious effort to shift. And even if he could move them, the paths have been made crooked. There's no straight way out. Every route twists and turns, leading nowhere. Verse 53 describes an even more extreme form of confinement. They tried to end my life in a pit and threw stones at me. A pit is a hole in the ground, often used as a prison or trap. To be thrown into a pit means complete helplessness. You can't climb out on your own. The walls are too steep, too high, and they threw stones at him while he was down there. People standing at the top, hurling stones down on someone who has no way to dodge or protect himself. Verse 54 continues, the waters closed over my head, and I thought I was about to perish. Now there's water filling the pit. It's rising, covering his head, making it impossible to breathe. This is drowning. The most primal fear of suffocation, of life being choked off. He thought death was certain. There was no air, no way to survive. The end seemed to have come. Verse 8 had already mentioned another form of blocked access. Even when I call out or cry for help, he shuts out my prayer. His cries don't reach anywhere. The prayers hit a wall and stop. This is spiritual confinement matching the physical. He can't escape physically and he can't reach God spiritually. Every avenue is blocked. Every door is shut. Every possibility of rescue or relief is closed off. The blocked prayers deserve deeper attention. Verse 8 stated it clearly. Even when I call out or cry for help, he shuts out my prayer. The man is praying. He hasn't given up on calling to God. He cries for help. These aren't quiet, polite prayers. These are desperate shouts. But God shuts them out, blocks them, refuses to let them through. Verse 44 uses different imagery for the same reality. You have covered yourself with a cloud so that no prayer can get through. The cloud here isn't the cloud of God's presence that guided Israel. This is a cloud that acts as a barrier, a wall between the man and God. It's thick enough that prayers can't penetrate it. They rise up, hit the cloud, and stop. God has deliberately placed this barrier, covering himself so the prayers can't reach him. Verse 17 describes what it feels like. I've been deprived of peace. I've forgotten what prosperity is. Peace is gone. He's been deprived of it, meaning it's been taken away, not just lost. He can't even remember prosperity anymore. When life is hard for long enough, the good times fade from memory. He can't recall what it felt like to have things go well, to experience blessing, to know peace. Verse 18 shows the depth of his despair. So I say, my splendor is gone, and all that I had hoped from the Lord. His splendor, his dignity, his glory, his value is gone. Every hope he had placed in the Lord has disappeared. This is the crisis point of faith. When prayers bounce back, when God seems absent, when suffering continues without relief, hope dies. And this man is announcing that his hope is dead. Then, suddenly, everything shifts. Right in the middle of the darkness, in verse 21, comes one of the most important phrases in the entire book. Yet this I call to mind, and therefore I have hope. After all the suffering, all the complaints, all the descriptions of God's wrath, the word yet. But, however, despite everything, this I call to mind, meaning he deliberately chooses to remember something. He reaches into his memory and pulls out a truth. It's an act of will. His circumstances haven't changed. The walls are still there. The prayers still seem blocked. But he makes a choice to remember, and that memory brings hope. What does he remember? Verse 22 reveals it. Because of the Lord's great love we are not consumed, for his compassions never fail. This is the center of the entire book. Surrounded by verses about suffering on one side and suffering on the other, this statement about God's love and compassion sits in the middle. The man realizes something crucial. If they were being treated according to pure justice, they would be completely consumed, wiped out, destroyed entirely. The fact that they still exist means God's love is still operating. The phrase, his compassions never fail, is absolute. Not, they usually don't fail, or they rarely fail. They never fail. Zero exceptions. God's compassion is as reliable as any force in the universe. More reliable, actually, because it's connected to his character, which doesn't change. Verse 23 continues, they are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. Every morning, not just once at the beginning, not just occasionally. Every single morning brings new compassion, fresh mercy. Yesterday's compassion was sufficient for yesterday. Today requires new compassion, and it's there. The repetition of new every morning has become one of the most quoted phrases in all of Scripture because it speaks to a fundamental human need, the need for daily grace. The concept of new mercies deserves fuller attention. Verse 23 said they come every morning. But what does that mean practically? It means that God's mercy isn't a limited resource that gets used up. It's not like a bank account that depletes. Every sunrise brings a fresh supply. No matter what happened yesterday, no matter how badly someone failed or how deeply they suffered, the morning brings new mercy. The phrase, great is your faithfulness, connects to this. God's faithfulness is what guarantees the new mercies. He's faithful to his own character, faithful to his promises, faithful to his nature as a compassionate God. That faithfulness is great. It's large, significant, weighty. It can be counted on absolutely. Verse 24 shows the man's response. I say to myself, the Lord is my portion, therefore I will wait for him. He's preaching to himself, declaring truth to his own soul. The Lord is my portion means God himself is the inheritance, the possession, the treasure. Not God's gifts, not what God can provide, God himself. When everything else is stripped away, when all the blessings are gone, God remains, and he's enough. Therefore I will wait for him. The decision to wait flows from the reality that God is his portion. If God is all he has and all he needs, then waiting for God makes sense. It's not passive resignation, it's active trust. He's choosing to position himself in expectation that God will act. Verse 25 makes a statement about God's character. The Lord is good to those whose hope is in him, to the one who seeks him. God is good, not neutral, not harsh, good. But notice the conditions. To those whose hope is in him, to the one who seeks him. The goodness is experienced by those who turn toward God, who place their confidence in him, who actively look for him. This doesn't mean God is only good to certain people. It means his goodness is received and recognized by those who are paying attention to him. Verse 26 introduces a posture. It is good to wait quietly for the salvation of the Lord. This isn't anxious waiting. It's not restless pacing or constant complaining. It's quiet waiting. There's a calmness to it, a peace in the waiting itself. The salvation hasn't come yet. That's why waiting is necessary. But the waiting can be good. The process itself has value. Verse 27 adds something surprising. It is good for a man to bear the yoke while he is young. A yoke is a burden, a load, a weight. And the verse says it's good to bear it while young. Why? Because learning to carry weight early builds strength, develops character, creates endurance that will be needed later. Young people often resist discipline, but the man who learns to bear a yoke while young will be stronger as he ages. Verse 28 continues the picture. Let him sit alone in silence, for the Lord has laid it on him. Sitting alone in silence is the opposite of running around trying to fix everything. It's acceptance. It's stillness. It's being quiet before God. The reason given is important, for the Lord has laid it on him. This burden didn't come randomly. It came from God with purpose. If God laid it there, sitting under it in silence is appropriate. Verse 29 gives a specific posture. Let him bury his face in the dust. There may yet be hope. Burying the face in dust is a sign of humility, of submission, of recognizing how low someone has fallen. But notice the phrase at the end. There may yet be hope. Even in the dust, even at the absolute bottom, hope remains possible. The word may doesn't guarantee it.
Where are we at? 51:18. Okay, I'm going to stop it. I'm exhausted. I'm sitting here falling asleep and not in a good position to fall asleep. I love you all. Let me see here. Puppy's already asleep. I can't believe she's asleep. I love you all. Stay safe. Smile at a stranger. Pray for our J6ers. Pray for each other. Keep Tina's dad in your prayers. Just keep everybody in your prayers. Okay, Darlene. Keep everyone in your prayers. Anytime you think of them, just pray for them. Know that I love you all, and I'm praying for each and every one of you. I have my list right here that I'm going to rewrite because it's completely full. God bless you, and I will see you tomorrow night. I'm not sure if I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow because I've got to do a couple things. I'm going to go get stuff out of storage, but I'll probably be on Tina's tomorrow night. I love you all. Thank you. Oh, you're awake now? Peace and love. Gator out. God bless you all. And thank you all for being here. Rumble. Thank you, Rumble. Thank you, mods. God bless. Oh, now I can't get my mouse to move.